This informational video for Craig Bay owners has been prepared by the Wildlife Control Subcommittee, working to inform residents on its activities in Craig Bay Estates. What a wonderful place to live. With our proximity to the ocean, our carefully crafted and maintained landscaping, and miles of walking paths, it's like living in a park. And of course we pay for this privilege. The cost for maintaining the grounds is a large percentage of our monthly strata fees. Even with all of the care and maintenance, there are some things that are seemingly beyond our control. Our network of ponds and green spaces are home to a rich variety of wildlife, but there are problems. Recently, beavers have attacked and injured several trees along the pond.
Last night, beaver came in and basically took this tree right out. Huge chunks out of both sides, so this tree is not going to make it.
A few houses down and the story is repeated. Another tree that may not survive the beaver attack.
So this tree here was wrapped with wire 3 years ago after we found damage on the tree that's just beside you. And you can see where they've come back in the last few weeks, and they're gnawing the roots that are exposed. They can get a 12, 15-inch diameter tree down overnight, so it pays us to wrap these things as soon as we see signs they've been back.
Beaver damage to the property continues at this time. A solution must be found before more of our trees are destroyed by this invasive animal. Another conflict with nature is the incredible number of Canada geese that have invaded the grounds and ponds of Craig Bay. A surprising fact is that Canada geese are not native to our area. They were introduced to the island many years ago as young birds.
Young birds were brought to the island and released into urban wetlands for wildlife viewing and for hunting. They weren't taught to migrate because they didn't have adults.
Well, the island's a favorite place.
The committee has invited Tim Claremont, a wildlife manager who has spent many years studying the effects of Canada geese on wetlands and estuaries, to have a look at what's going on here in Craig Bay.
Yeah, because I have noticed the males sitting around here, so I figured there's probably a nest or two in here. So they could be on both sides, but if they're cutting that part, that's when it gives them the nice little spot, let the stuff grow up while she's sitting on a nest, and then pretty soon you can't even see her.
On the lower pond, the bulrushes surrounding the shoreline provide a barrier to the geese, keeping them from coming up to the grassy areas. In other areas where the vegetation is removed, the geese have easy access to the shore.
Quick fix here is actually you can get a fencing, you just put fencing along that, so that along the edge, so that they can't just pop up.
So the geese come out of the pond up onto the lawns, and I think something that's not really well appreciated is they don't just eat the grass, they rip it out by the roots. And it's very difficult. You have to reseed the lawns after they've been here for several weeks. And we've used a variety of methods to try and keep them off, the motion-activated sprinklers, and other people have used lasers in the past, and none of it's very effective. I have put a fence up this summer to try and keep them off, and that's the only thing that really works.
They eat 10% of their body weight. And there's kind of a joke about that, they're inefficient. They just eat a lot, and most of it comes out the other end. And so if they're eating 10%, like a pound a day, multiply that by a growing population, it can be a real impact to our estuaries and to our coastal wetlands.
And it's what's coming out of the other end, goose poop, that has residents up in arms.
They just come in and they defecate all over my patio, and every morning I have to get out and I have to hose it down. But we used to have a hard drop here and a lot of bulrushes, so this wasn't used as a landing pad for the geese. So they land on the other end, they swim down here, they come up on this because we built them a beach, and this is what you end up with. The only way I can get rid of all the stuff on my grass is to rake it. My doctor told me if I do that, I was to wear a mask, because what I'm doing is lifting up what's in their excrement and it's going into air, and if you breathe it, it could be a health hazard. So when I go out there, I've got the gloves on, shoes on, and a mask on in order to clear off my backyard, which is absolutely ridiculous.
Large numbers of geese leave large quantities of feces. A single goose will defecate every 20 minutes and produce up to 1.5 pounds of feces daily. That's a lot of goose poop. Research has shown that the excrement of geese contains a wide variety of pathogens capable of infecting humans. Parasites like Cryptosporidium and Giardia, bacteria like E. coli, Listeria, and Salmonella are all present in goose poop. The Canadian Wildlife Service recommends that seniors and people with compromised immune systems should not be exposed to areas contaminated by goose droppings.
You know, it's a man-made problem, and the solutions are we have to reduce their populations by a couple of ways. Maybe by addling their eggs in the springtime if we can find their nests so that they don't have that recruitment. And also adults need to be harvested, whether that's hunting or First Nations enjoying their meat.
These are not migratory geese. They stay here year-round. And this year we had 74 goslings in the pond at one time, and in a year or two they'll all be back and laying more eggs, and it'll increase the problem exponentially. So we need to do something more definitive to deal with this, and we're calling on the experts in the area to advise us and give us some help in how to deal with the problem more effectively than we have been.